Welcome to the voice of mountain sledding, the Mountain Sledder Podcast with Mike Reed.
This marks our final episode of the 2024 Mountain Sledder Podcast, Season 1, and we are beyond stoked to have legendary backcountry freerider Geoff Kyle on with us today. I'm so stoked to be able to sit down with my old buddy Geoff. Man, we've got such a cool history to go back on, and if listeners, if viewers are wondering who Geoff Kyle is because they haven't been, maybe they're more recent to the sport, you are one of the OGs of backcountry snowmobiling. Is that safe to say?
Yeah, I guess you could definitely say that. I mean, I'm still living, so I'm definitely OG for sure.
Well, the sport's still kind of new, so it's not like you're old and retired in some sort of retirement home. You're still doing it.
Yeah, no, I'm still kicking it. The body's still working pretty damn mint, surprisingly, really. But yeah, no, I'm happy to be still up in the mountains, ripping most every day almost, it's weather conditions,
I am stoked to catch up with you because it's been so many years since you and I have shredded the backcountry together. But I know listeners are like, man, where's he been? What's he been up to? So I can't wait for this next hour because we're going to get caught up on what Geoff Kyle's been up to. And it's been a lot of fun. I know we can't do it. Cannot wait to get into it. But let's take it back. Let's start off with, where do you think your name really got solidified in backcountry snowmobiling? Was it like Slednecks 4? Was it BJ Murray times? Those are days when Jake Quinlan was talking stuff and Chris Brandt and
it's true.
You and Rob Alford. What year do you think it was?
Well, it's during the Rob Alford, kind of saga there. Rob and I were ripping in the backcountry, and Rob was hitting some big cliffs, and then I started hitting some big cliffs with Rob, and then it started to get recognized by all these snowboard outfits and all these snowboard films, and Rob and I are just out there kind of solo Jedis, just him and I, because not many people were ripping hard or actually had sleds that could rip, or either had sleds at all. So it was just kind of Robbie and I out there mashing and bashing about out there. And, we come up to some of these crazy cheese wedges that some of these snowboarders would build, and they'd nail them one time after time. And they've got all these bomb holes there. And then Rob and I, because we got sleds with power, we'd come and just kick off one of these cheese wedges and just outsend all of it and just land a nice, fresh, clean pow. And then I guess that kind of just generated a bit of a buzz in the snowboard industry, but then it conveyed back into the sled world. So I guess what you're saying, maybe around Slednecks 6 and 7 was kind of my entrance into the Slednecks world there. Yeah. Doing a little bit of film work with Two-Stroke Cold Smoke. Yep. Yeah, they were good guys.
Big name back then.
Some some Braap action. There was all kinds of these other little side actions, but yeah, it was a good life back then for sure.
The first years, like Slednecks Y2K, and they had Blair Morgan and a bunch of guys from the snowcross scene sending it on their snowcross sleds. I remember when the VHS tapes came out, and it was you couldn't wait to get down to the dealership to watch it. And then
that's right.
It was like you said, it was Two-Stroke Cold Smoke and Slednecks. You take one of each, you get home, get your buddies together and watch. And guys like yourself were just sending huge cliffs, huge drops. And you're just man, how is this even possible? And then, fast forward years later, you and I link up. And I remember my first instance filming with you was just we get to this huge cliff band, and it was 51 or something like that, somewhere in the, Whistler backcountry. And it was just is he going to go off that? That was my first inception into this whole introduction backcountry Whistler West Coast riders. And it was man, but you'd been doing it for years at that point.
Well, the Canadians send it. I don't know what it is. They got the big cojones. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I haven't seen Rob's balls, so I don't want to go into that. But I personally feel like they're extra large. But anyway.
But then in those era, there were guys like Garth Kaufman, I want to say, and Brandt and those guys down. They were jumping cabins and stuff. Do you remember those days?
Absolutely, yeah. Jay Quinlan jumping like ski lifts, and
Yes.
those guys are super senders, of course, down there. They're all jacked up on Red Bulls, and they're just giving her down there. Just a different style of giving her up here, I
Yeah.
guess. More big mountain style instead of more freestyle down there.
Yeah.
Ours were high consequence from Mother Nature. Theirs were high consequence from actual just sheer impact from over jumping, under
Hitting
guessing,
something, yeah.
Yeah, hitting something.
Nowadays, social media is so prevalent, and you can basically keep on track of what everyone's doing. You know what Caleb Kosturki's doing or Brant's doing on a day-to-day basis because social media is so prevalent. Back then, were you aware of what the guys were doing in the States, or did you just watch the film and you were like, is that what they were throwing down?
Yeah. Oh, no, 100%. It was all via films and stuff. Like I said, social media wasn't a big presence and plus we didn't really have time. Social media just started to really be positive when it was all about sponsorship stuff and all that kind of stuff. But before, we knew what they're doing down there and we appreciated it and stuff like that, but it didn't really convey to us, like a lot of the beginning of the Slednecks was a lot of ramps, right? Do you ever remember that? It was all just ramp, and really wicked tricks and really stuff like super freestyle. It's when freestyle then moved to the backcountry at the same time, and that cohesion there, that was an absolute something to see, and that was one of my favorite parts of the backcountry, is bringing that in. And a lot of guys did it even way better than I did. Like Fetterman and all those boys just throwing some big old nasty tricks off some big drops and stuff like that. I could huck and chuck for sure, but those guys could throw and dangle. So it was really cool to have that. But I love those guys down there, Brant and Quinlan and all the boys down there. They're such good guys, and love to have a little posse regather.
Could you imagine some sort of a reunion tour with guys like Borchers and yourself? And Alford
definitely.
and Brant, if you got everyone together like that, I don't think anyone's really seen Quinlan on a sled since, the maybe 2010 or something like that. I don't even know if then, so if you could get some of you guys together. So who do you think's carrying the torch? Are you up with social media these days? Are you following any of it?
You know what? I'm not huge on it, man. I'm still not a huge social media guy. I do have, friends and people that do it for me just because, they're way better at it than I am. And I don't have the time, nor I don't know what it is, but I am kind of up on it just because I'm out here in the middle of BC. So,
So who do you think the rider right now, up and coming or otherwise, that you've been kind of following for a bit?
That is a darn Peyota's sending it really, really good.
Yes.
Right now. But there's a whole bunch of really good cats out there. In this neck of woods, there's just so much good terrain. There's so much good talent, and it all brings itself from all the snowboarders and all the skiers and all the the pro mountain bikers, and everyone just has so much talent out here that they can push the envelope really quickly and a lot higher than we used to.
This episode of the Mountain Sledder Podcast is brought to you by Mountain Sports Distribution and ShopMSD.com, your source for top brands in sledding and powersports. From 509 to Highmark, Tobe to CFR, and their exclusive line of Mountain Lab gear, MSD is where you can find products tailored to meet the needs of serious backcountry powersports users. Mountain Sports Distribution has constantly been expanding their line of products each year, and I always look forward to what comes out next. From a custom Mountain Lab toolkit which contains everything needed no matter what brand you ride, to super bright headlamps and even gear bags and tie-downs, any outerwear and safety gear you need for riding, basically everything you'll need in a day of riding, you'll find at ShopMSD.com. Upgrade your riding experience this season by visiting ShopMSD.com. Top quality brands for your backcountry adventures. Yeah, and you mentioned like cross-discipline. So Logan Peyote, like you mentioned, comes from a big-time ski background and a long lineage of that. Like his dad was a big sender, and now he moved over. It seems like he's loving sledding just as much as he loves skiing, or better, And that's almost like where you guys came from, right? Like Robbie came from a real ski background and then he started sledding more. Did you do that too, or where did you come from?
Yeah. Yeah. No, it was totally ski background. I moved from Halifax, Nova Scotia, 18 years old. And I just put in like 130 days a year, a season, just skiing, working for Whistler Mountain, living in staff housing,
Yes.
grinding away, but just, I was working for Whistler Mountain. So we had ski breaks. We had, like lunch breaks or ski breaks. And then you could take another ski break halfway through the day. So all I wanted to do was crush pow and just throw down. And I was really, really stoked on big mountain skiing for a long time. So that's where that's where the drive came from to press the limits and try to go bigger and faster and sendier and, all of that stuff. So it was a very fluid transition to go from big mountain skiing to big mountain sledding.
So did you and Rob know each other before you guys started sledding?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did. We partied and stuff like that. And, we lived really close to each other.
Okay.
He was just like a block down from me in Creekside, Whistler there. So, yeah, we'd hang out here and there. And he had a sled, and then I got a sled, and then we just started hanging out more and more and more, of course. And that's when he became really annoying. But that's no, he became a really good friend, is what I meant to say. And yeah, no, we got to explore some really, really cool spots because it was really untapped, and all the new kind of, the new generation of sleds were coming out. We were able to get farther, faster, way farther back. And it was just a lot of it was just him and I just kind of cruising back there.
You mentioned some of the big mountain stuff and big drops, and that West Coast is just so known for that, and it brings a lot of riders to that West Coast, and it used to big time. Like Corey Davis used to go out there with Turcotte with their snowcross sleds and just huck it in the springtime. Yeah. What were some of the biggest kind of crashes that you had in the backcountry? I thought there was a story one time where your helmet came rolling down the hill and someone thought your head was in it or something.
Yeah, there was that one. That's a good one. I mean, again, Rob stepped up and tried to claim my sled. He's like, if he's decapitated, I get his sled. Right there. I was like, that's a true friend, though. If he's going to take care of my sled for me and make sure it goes, to someplace good. So that was good. But yeah, that was a good one because I don't like to buckle up my my helmet. So there are some times when you start like catapulting or tomahawking, it likes to fly off. But I like more just natural body movements instead of like having a helmet
that
on
weight
there,
on
right?
Your head,
So
yeah.
Exactly. So I mean, that seemed to work out okay for me. I wasn't decapitated, as you might notice. So
do you remember the days when Robbie would come out, he'd do some big drops, and then the next day he wouldn't even wear a helmet because his neck was so sore?
Yes, he would. That's a true story. Well, he wear the balaclava, then just have the big old snotsicle that's coming out of the front of it. Yeah. I think he still wears the balaclava to this day. I don't think his neck's repaired yet.
So we talked to like one of the most recent podcasts with Brad Gilmore, another West Coastie out there. He had a gnarly injury and it took him out of even work for like something like 16 or 18 months. Did you ever have something like that where it took you down and out for, like a season or two?
Yeah, not a season or two, but I did. I was out guiding where Rob and I were doing a ride camp there, and I ended up breaking my ankle out there on one of the camps doing whips. Sheared off the sled, my ankle stuck in the wheel in the footwell, and I sheared right off. That one took me out for maybe a half a season. But other than that, that's about it. I've done a lot of compression, so I should be about this much taller right now.
You lost a couple inches.
But I definitely lost a couple inches in height.
Yeah,
okay, in height. Yeah,
that's it.
Right. But no, other than that, just a broken ankle, which kind of plagued me a bit. But now it's literally, I don't know, it's close to 100% for some reason. I did not treat it very good for repairing. So
you're superhuman. Still are.
I thought I was. I kind of proved myself wrong, but still.
You described some of the early days of the first films and stuff were really kind of influenced by snowboarding and other sports and stuff. You guys were coming up on cheese wedges and you guys were hitting them on sleds and stuff. Describe some of the early days of like, what was it like, the grassroots of big mountain snowmobiling back in those days, like the early 2000s? Obviously, you guys were on trailing arm sleds, no suspension, no aftermarket, no product support, no sled support in those days. Like, it was really grassroots, wasn't it?
It was just bare nuts and stuff like that. You know, the sleds were in some ways, you know, more durable. They in some ways less durable. I mean, everything was heavier, so it was a little stronger back then. But the motors were weaker and stuff. You'd expect to blow a sled or two, an engine, one or two a season, because we were out there a lot. Like, you know, we were riding so much those days and just riding for fun and exploring. But then we started to, you know, get into the filming thing. But it was just we never wanted to not be sledding. Like there was no grooming back then. Sometimes too, we're just beating ourselves up on these huge, long, whooped out trails and coming back at the end of the day and like, same place, same spot tomorrow. Hell yeah, let's go. So we just keep on going and going and going. Let's do it. But it's you know, the sleds, of course, man, they've come like a full revolution and evolution, man. It's crazy how amazing those things are compared to what we had back in the day there.
Do you think
trailing arms and suspension that was a good solid 2 or 3 inches, you know?
The M10 with a
plus your vertebrae. I mean, you got some cush there too. It.
And you've taken that up.
That's exactly right.
Was there a season, like a springtime or a season that you remember where you're just like, it was so sweet because the weather was sweet, the snow stacked up, and then all these riders converged on the West Coast and we were just all throwing down? Like, was there ever a moment like that in your history where you can think of that you were just like, this was the all-time, that was probably the pinnacle of backcountry snowmobiling?
You know, those times are also filled with a lot of partying. So
it's hard to remember.
It's kind of, exactly. It's pretty foggy. It's pretty misty right there. But, you know, there's a bunch of years like 97 and, you know, 2000, like the late 2000s, when you just get these epic snow years. And those are the ones that tend to stand out.
Yeah.
You know, when you get those incredible years where you have these amazing snowfalls where you're just like, we don't seem to get those incredible snowfalls as much as we used to before, you know, for one reason or another. And this year being definitely a good example of it. But that's what tends to stick out is because all these adventures, you know, I'd love to be able to remember each and every one of them, but I can't. Well, and there's been a lot of them.
You've been around for a number of years.
I have been around. I think I've been riding now, I think for like 26 years now, I think.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, moving out from Halifax as an 18-year-old out west and chasing the snow and chasing the dream, and you're still doing it. Good for you.
That's exactly right, buddy. I'm sitting in the middle of it still.
So take us through, what is Geoff Kyle's life like these days? What are you doing?
These days, I got the snowbike operation there called Mountain Moto, where we got a fleet of 5 Honda CRF 450s. Probably the best bike I think I've ever had. I've had a fleet of all different type of bikes, and these are by far, not just because they're on my side here, but these are by far the best bike that I've actually ridden for a snow bike.
Nice.
And like carefree, get you home at the end of the day, get you out the first thing the next morning. You know, they just
keep
nice. Oh my God, they're Honda.
Yeah.
You know, there's not to you say one 5-letter word and that says durability. You could say Honda, and people would just know exactly what you mean.
Oh, all the farmers listening with their 300 4-track quads from 1986 that are still running like the day they bought them.
They're nodding. They're 100% nodding. Like, good point.
So,
Honda, baby, Honda.
So you got a cool lodge out there in Pemberton, and you guys are riding the local area, and you're guiding around with a fleet of snow bikes. What made you change from sleds to snow bikes? You know, why are you doing that? Why don't you have a fleet of 5 sleds out there?
I do. I have a fleet of 4 sleds.
Oh, okay.
But the snow bikes are more sought after out here. We have a lot of people that want to try this sport, and a lot of people that come in from vacations with their family into Whistler, and they come in on their 7-day ski vacation, and they want to maybe not ski every 7 days,
Yeah.
7 days in a row.
Something else.
So they look out. Yeah, exactly. And a lot of these people are coming in from like Mexico. They're coming from all over the world, and Australians and stuff. And they're all dirt bikers, enduro trials, moto of some sort, or just a street biker. And they're just like, they want to try something different, and they see this on TV or they see it on the net, and they're excited about it. And I don't blame them. Like it's pretty cool to take people out on a snow bike for the first time that they've ever seen snow, but they've ridden a dirt bike and they blend to it like really, really quickly.
What nationality would you say takes to it the best? Like, is it the Australians? Is it the Europeans? Is it the Mexicans? Is it where?
That's a really, really good question. I mean, they all have a decent moto background, right?
Yeah.
The Europeans, they're definitely enduro. Mexicans are like, they're hardcore, desert enduro.
Yeah.
Australians, there's just a lot of them. So, they of course, do a lot of really hard enduro too. So you don't even need to know how to enduro, like be an enduro rider or a motocross rider, to enjoy the snow bikes. It's very intuitive. So someone that just kind of does, maybe they got a Harley, or they got maybe a Honda CBR or something like that, but they get onto these and it's just intuitive. The two wheel vibe that translates from the two wheels to the ski. It's just really cohesive. It's pretty cool to see. That's my favorite thing about snow bike guiding, is that a beginner sledder, I would have a hard time taking them to where I would like to go in one day, even in 7 days where I would like to take them. But on a snow bike, I'm taking these guys like first thing in the morning, they're adjusting, all of a sudden it clicks. And then kind of right at lunch, they're intermediate. And then in the afternoon, now we're hitting advanced terrain where I would like to go. Yes. So it's just smiles.
You just get to have fun every day. You just get to have fun right with your buddies, basically.
It's I'm not gonna lie, it's not a bad time out there for sure.
So we determined that it's pretty like level playing field throughout their skills throughout the world. What about the best to like hang out with? Is there ones that just like they'll go out there and just they love to hang, or is it like Europeans come and they're just like really proper and set and whatever, and then these guys like to come and party, or like who's the best clients you'd say?
Well, you know what? I think you're answering my question. Europeans definitely like to party. They can hang, and they're really appreciative. They're really just they're just really mind blown, and they just like to absorb it in.
It's got to blow their mind that like Europeans, because they're so limited to the riding terrain they can do. When you take them up on say like the Rutherford Ice Cap, and they're like, we can ride all this, and you're like, yeah. They're like, we just can't just go to the Matterhorn and just start riding around like that. You can't do it. So
no, they're confined over there in many spots. So when you just get here and they're just like, it's just carte blanche, wherever the hell you want to go. You're just like, all of that is yours.
So fun.
Go on, it's you. Yeah.
Oh, so awesome. So they can do some skiing in Whistler, and then they just bounce over to Pemberton. They can experience a new sport, tracked, sleds, snow bikes, whatever. And you got a beautiful lodge there, and they can stay right there.
Thank you. Yeah. I've got a beautiful girl here that helps take care of it and helps treat the clients amazingly. 5-star chef. Beautiful. So she really completes the program. We got, we're 5 minutes from a riding zone here. Nice. So we're just our major riding zone. So it's just a hop and a skip. I wish I could say we could ride right from the door, but we probably could if, you got to distract the cops somehow. I don't know, but we could get there for sure.
Not this year, not this season. They're probably growing potatoes right now.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
So where are you guys riding mainly? Is it the Rutherford?
Yeah, well, Rutherford is our main jam. Like it's a huge amount of territory, like thousands of square kilometers. It's the glaciers. It's huge, huge gladed trees and lakes and rivers and just like all kinds of stuff to explore. Literally, you could not you cannot ride there all of that terrain in a season. You can't do it.
So some of our listeners kind of on two skis, let's say, is listening, and they want to come out. Can you still guide them if they want to bring a group of 4 buddies or
100%.
whatever, travel out to
100%.
Whistler? They've never been to the West Coast, and they say, how do we get around? How do we know where to go? They just give you a shout, and you can take them.
100%. I love snow biking, but I will never give up on sledding. Like sledding is in my DNA. You know, snow biking in me, where my DNA is now reforming around snow biking at the same time. But I mean, sledding is my heart and jam. Like I love it.
And what are you riding for a sled these days?
I've got the 850, but it's 222, and I got a fleet of those. But I'm not on the Tobe.
No,
I'm not on the Tobe. And the Tobe's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm still aspirated, but injected, but it's still I don't need the Tobe right now. Neither do a lot of my clients need the turbo. That could get me or a lot of us in a whole lot of trouble there. So that's a pretty good thing.
I think that's a big conversation these days. Is just like, is the turbo necessary? And I think for 95% of the listeners out there, probably not.
Yeah,
like
probably not. But hell, when you do squeeze that trigger, it's like 100 miles an hour right there on the spot.
Isn't that fun?
Yeah, isn't that fun? Exactly.
Do you have a favorite riding zone? Probably secret, so you're probably not able to talk about it. But a favorite riding zone on the West Coast and the coastals that you like? If there was a beautiful film day where you had 3 feet of fresh blue skies, you knew it was coming, and you were just like, let's get the cameras out for one last time and go out and hit this zone.
Yeah.
Like, where would that zone be, you think? Is it Brandywine? Is it Rutherford? Is it somewhere else?
Well, that's good. That's a good question. And I do have a couple of those that I like to go to. But what's kind of neat is that the whole Whistler, they call it the Sea to Sky corridor. So Whistler, Pemberton, and Squamish on, say, the west side of the highway, it's all connected. So it's just a matter of what door you go in. Do you go in the side door here? Do you go in the main door? Do you go in the left door, the back door? But you all get to the same area. And it's so vast back there that you can do a big loop from like Pemberton all the way to Squamish, but you're going to need like gas drops and stuff like that. But in amongst that whole big loop, yes, I have a favorite spot.
And we're not going to talk about it. We're not going to name it.
Yes, no.
You and
it's
I
beautiful.
Went way deep in the Rutherford one time. I shouldn't say way deep because you've been deeper, no doubt. But like 180K was like, we were still back in the trucks in daylight. Like it wasn't that crazy. But you're just like putting on miles like that.
Yes, well, you can. On the glacier, you can close your eyes for 5 minutes and pin it and not worry about hitting anything.
We don't suggest anyone does that, but you can do it.
No, exactly. That's a possibility. But it's so enormous back there. It's pretty cool to see. Like when you get on top of the mountains and you at the very top and you look past the next mountain and past the next mountain and past the next mountain and keep on going, you're like, I can get back there, or I have been back there. It's just so crazy to see, and it's so hard to really appreciate when someone's up there to say like, this is what we have. This is what we can ride.
I remember one Slednecks film where you and Cody Borchers were involved in some heli sledding. You remember that?
Yes, yeah.
And I think that was like,
Sledder.
at that time, I think it was every viewer's dream. We were all like, oh my gosh, what a pairing. My sled, bring it out there for me, drop me in the middle of nowhere, and here we go. Why didn't that take off to be like this new sport that was going to be just taking over everything? Like, why wasn't that on every other film thereafter?
Well, you're talking about Whistler, like probably Whistler Heli Sledder, which was Dave Mills who put that all together and put his heart and soul into it. You know, it's tenure, it's just all the paperwork and it's all the logistics and flying containers in there and organizing the helicopter company. But he has that type of energy and that type of awesomeness that he actually succeeded and put that together. Now, the only part that was a problem was Mother Nature. She kind of, went the other direction on him a lot of the time, because in order to fly a heli, you have to have good weather, you have to have good visibility. And you have to have it for a longer period of time. If you're going to do a heli sledding trip, you need to get up there first thing in the morning, have a good clear day for the sledders and for everything to have a good time, and then have a good clear day at evening or late afternoon pickup for all the clients to get back out and maybe to shuttle the sleds back out too. So that's why Dave then brought in these huge containers. He flew these containers up on the glacier, like 40 footers, insulated with BTU units, like heating units, and two of them. And that's where he stored the sleds. He would put the sleds in there, and then so we go up either the night before or that first thing in the morning, get the sleds out, and then the clients would come in and everything would be ready to go, and then we'd bugger off, or it's just a film trip. Now we're just all in there partying that night and waking up in the middle like, let's go sledding, or first thing in the morning, which was quite painful when you've been partying all night going sledding and God, it's bright out here. It's like
I'm gonna sit in the sea can a little longer.
Yeah, sorry. They said dark.
other than the hangovers, was it really like when you look at that program, you're like, you can't be more successful in setting that up, because it's just like you could drop literally anywhere where no other tracks are around, right at the base of, say, the best, riding we've ever been to, and then just bang off shot after shot for filming. It seems like it would just be a no-brainer, just bang off a crazy segment. Was it that easy, or like?
It kind of was. It kind of was. Logistically, like we had some really good days. We had some really good shot days up there, and I got one of my best covers on Slednecks magazine up there spent overnight at the containers at Whistler Heli Sledder, and woke up in the morning, and so I was, a little frosty, of course, but managed to pull off one of my best shots because of the glacier. It looked like a sea of clouds, and I think I was hucking a cliff.
Yes.
Yeah, do you remember that one? And it just looked like I was going into absolutely oblivion. Like it looked like I should have had like a Matichuk shoot on the back of the sled or something like that, right? But I didn't.
Yeah, I remember that. It made it into a big poster is where I saw it, I think.
Yeah.
There was a poster of you, and I had to look twice because initially from across the room it was like it looked like you were dropping out of a skyscraper into a sea of clouds. Yeah,
that's
and then you look closer and you're like,
oh,
that's the glacier underneath
the ice
them.
Cap. That's right.
And
that's right.
But yeah, that was and we talk about this lots, but the perspective, like finding the right spot on the right day and the right feature where the filmer can get at it is always hard to line that up. But you did a pretty good job, especially on
that's what you're good at, my friend.
I just tried my best.
Speak of the devil right there. Oh,
but you know how it goes.
You're sitting in the captain's chair right now.
Yeah, asking all the questions, prodding. I'm just behind the camera all the time. I never have to be in front of it. But it's true. Like, there's so many drops that you've done where it's just like you're kind of like front on, and that's all you can film it from. Before the days of drones, especially, and things like that, where you're set up with tripods.
Yeah, the Barbie doll. Yeah,
all you could do, right? Like, that's it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So it oftentimes doesn't do it justice. But then you see big drops like Treadway did in Brandywine.
Yeah.
That one that yearly shot from across the valley or whatever, and it looked like it was like 300 feet high. I mean, the snow was incredibly deep, and he just like landed to flat. But
it does help.
It's interesting. Sometimes it looks like it's massive, like when you're going off, into the ice cap, and other times it's like, he went okay, but then you get there and you look at the edge and you're like, oh, this is 120 legitimate feet here. Like this is massive.
Exactly. I'll tell you what, one of the best feelings was when you looked at a cliff from a little ways away. You're like, holy crap, that thing looks serious. Like this is a doozy. But then when you get up on the cliff, the perception from far away is altered. Like it looks way bigger than it really is. You get on top of that cliff, you look down, you're like, holy crap, this is completely doable, and then you hawk off and you're like, God, that wasn't so bad. But then when you look at it from far back, you're like, wow, man, That's substantial.
Put the camera right here because it's gonna look.
Yeah,
huge.
but exactly.
I don't know, Jeff, man. Like,
Yeah,
I've
that
been
was
to the
cool.
edge of some of your cliffs, and I'm like, I am certainly not knocking myself off that thing. Like, that is
No.
massive.
No, I will. I looked like I was medicated up there half the time. For sure.
Do you have clients that show up like recently, like in today's day and age, where they're like, oh, we looked you up on Google or whatever, and we want to try this snow biking thing. We've never done it. You know, we got motorbikes at home or whatever. And then you take them out all day and they have no clue who you are.
Yes.
That happens lots.
Definitely. Yeah, especially on snow bikes. On snow bikes, I'm not really anybody on the snow bike platform, but you know, I've just been doing it for a long time, and I offer people really good times is what I offer. I did some videos with Trax Films there for a couple of his films, and that was really cool. Jaya
puts
super
together
good
some
guys.
Great stuff. Yeah, great content.
He sure does, and dedicated and stuff like that. So that was really cool to rip with Jaya and all the boys too that he brought together, Brock Code, and you know, so we all had just and Rieg, and so we all just had a really good camaraderie because it's snow biking, and the snow biking was, you know, it's pretty fresh, right?
Yeah.
It's, you know, it's an infant right now, and it's growing quickly. But it was just neat for Jaya to put that all together, and then to broadcast it to the world to say, hey, listen, look at this, check out this new sport that's coming up that's super cool, and you guys, a lot of people are going to enjoy this. A lot of people are going to be able to try this out.
Regan Sieg and I talked a lot about that, where like he was there in 2011 when snow biking just got off the ground. Like they just started building the track kit.
Yeah.
He's like,
OG, baby, OG.
And it was interesting because he was there for the infancy of FMX as well. You know, so he saw that sport take off, freestyle motocross, and he was kind of involved in that in the initial Vans Triple Crown tour down in California. And he was in the heart of it against like Metzger and Deegan and these guys, and he's thrown in there too. And it's interesting, you were at the infancy of backcountry snowmobiling, especially big mountain stuff that we're kind of used to today. And then you're at the infancy of snow biking. What do you think was like the most charging when it first came on the scene? Do you think it was maybe because you were younger and backcountry snowmobiling was like hitting it harder? People maybe had more disposable income. It was just like, you know, manufacturers were looking for people to get behind, and snow biking's a little bit different. Like which do you think?
Well, I think technology had a lot to do with it. Was the social media was able to blast all the new stuff way better than it was blasting it before. But before, like you said, you'd be stoked on when it came out on VHS. But you know, you'd get there, you get your boys together. You know, everyone throw in for beer and like, you know, let's make this a hoo-ha.
That's exactly
it. And that's how you live vicariously in the sled world, in the big mountain sled world. Now you live vicariously through it just with a click of the button and one after another, after another. Like
it never
you can
ends.
almost get overdosed on it. So
well, I think that's it. I think we kind of get a little bit numb, like when you saw say Caleb Kosturki go off these weird pillows and going up off stuff and then down and whatever. You're just like, you kind of assume everyone kind of should be doing that these days, and it's just like that is not normal.
Is it a turbo? Oh, it's a turbo. That's what turbo.
If I had a turbo, I'd do that. Speaking of, did you get that a lot too? Because I've heard that so many times where it's just like, oh, if I had a sled given to me, I'd do that big drop like Geoff Kyle would do too. And you're like, no, you wouldn't. You wouldn't even stand on the edge of that. Have you had lots of clients or lots of people in your history where you're just like, they would come up to you and be like, well, if I got what you got for free, I would be doing that stuff too. And you're like, listen, buddy, A, I don't get it for free. B, no, you wouldn't. Like,
no, true. You got a lot of people that have the gumption for it and stuff like that. But, you know, they want to give it a shot, but when they step up to the to the lion's den there, then that's a whole other story. But everyone wants to, like, how do I did get quite a bit of that before, is how do I get into the industry? How do I deal with sponsor? How can I support myself just to go sledding and make a career out of it? And I didn't have too much to tell them, you know. It's just like, you know, sack up. Put every bit of, your self-preservation in a bag and flush it down the toilet.
You're not going to have that up there.
That's right. Take your machine, the newest one you have, and absolutely destroy it.
Just destroy it.
And become a real good wrencher. And you can make it, kid. You can do this.
Take a garbage bag of cash, throw it in a fire, see what that feels like. See what that feels
like. Yeah.
Speaking of burning cash quick, other things that are really good at burning gas and cash quick, jet boats, river boats.
Yes.
And you're big time involved in those these days, aren't you?
I do. That's one of my favorite things. Through the summertime, of course.
Yeah. But this winter, probably all winter, you could be doing it.
This winter is feeling a little bit more summery than I'd like it to, but it's the jet boat sitting there staring at me right now, and I'm thinking about pulling it out. But yes, love jet boats, love fishing off of jet boats.
Yeah. So what is your summer program with jet boats and fishing and all that consist of? Where are you doing it? What's it look like?
Fishing, I do a lot of like river fishing, of course.
Yeah.
Lake fishing, I used to be a fly fishing guide. I used to go up to the Queen Charlotte. I guided up in the Queen Charlottes there at some of the lodges for several years. So I was doing salt water. I was a heli fly fishing guide up there too. But fishing's always been in my blood, and the boat, the jet boat, is just such a good access to all these spots, like just on the other side of the river, or if the spot's not working, guess what? We can be in another spot in like T-2 minutes. Nice. So now I'm just getting excited thinking about fishing right now. But sturgeon fishing's taken over for me quite a bit, and sturgeon fishing is up in the Lillooet area on the mighty Fraser River, and it's just absolutely beautiful. There's canyons and there's whirlpools and rapids, and so jet boating is just part of the experience of fishing. And then you get to these kind of cool, like random crazy little holes that you fish, and then when you catch a sturgeon in it, now you got to figure out, how do I get this sturgeon out of this hole, or how do I land the sturgeon where I'm at right now? So a lot of times we got to chase them down the river in the jet boat, or, pull up to these cool beaches and stuff. And then you can pull the sturgeon in, and then you can like literally pat it. You can't pick it out of the water because they're protected and stuff like that. But you can pat these things and just hang, you can just really get social with them and photos.
How big are these things? I got an opportunity to do it out at Chilliwack years ago, and we caught this big dinosaur, this huge river monster. But what's some of the biggest and oldest ones you caught?
10'3" was my biggest.
Nice.
And that was probably about 700 pounds.
Holy.
Yeah, that was a big one. Yeah.
And how long do these things take? Now,
when I say me, it's not.
It's the guide,
I'm guiding it. Well, I don't have to winch. Like that's like an hour and a half fight right there.
Yeah.
So, and that's between 4 people. So it just rotates amongst people because you're gonna have to be pretty superhuman to fight an hour and a half on one of these at full pull.
Yeah.
Full pull. Yeah.
Our guide told us it's like a marathon. So go 80. What was the rule? It was like go 80% of your full force 100% of the time or something like that. He's like, never go 100% because you'll get burnt out so quick. Like,
oh, I like that. Yeah. Can I use that?
Yeah, use that. I like
that. All right.
That was the initial thing.
I'm 100 at 100 all the time.
100. Okay, I'm done. Okay, someone else take it.
Yeah. Let's go. Come on, pussy. Sack up.
Take us through your boat. What's its size? What's its power plant? What do you got?
22 North River with a 6-liter Haxby engine. It's got about 430 horsepower, Hamilton 212 pump.
Yeah.
A nice open deck on it, a stereo system that blows your eardrums off.
Yes.
It's got all LEDs for night chasing, night fishing, and just cruising up and down the river.
So cool.
And of course, your party lights on the inside for night fishing and such and such. Nice boat, super fast, all armored up, so I can hit things, which I try not to.
by accident, but you'll still survive.
By accident. Yeah, exactly.
Do the clients love ripping the rivers just as much as they love the experience of hooking a fish?
They do.
Or what? Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. They really get off it. Like, it's one of my favorite things first thing in the morning is as soon as I pull out of the beach after I pick the clients up and we're sitting there, and then I flick on the stereo and I put on some AC/DC Back in Black.
Yes.
And then it's like, and they just, all of a sudden it goes, boom, dum, 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 and I slam it into again, give her crap. And now we're just flying up the river and the stereo's blasting. And these people's, like, I don't think the smile could get, it's going past their eyeballs.
Yes.
It's so fun.
And you've had some pretty high-end clients come up and they'll do like heli drops and stuff like that. And it gets pretty wild.
Yeah, for sure. Heli sturgeon fishing. So they'll fly in from all through Vancouver or wherever, through Whistler and stuff, and fly up. Then I pick them up on the river where the heli lands. And again, the girlfriend, she does all the catering, so she'll set up this beautiful pop-up kind of double tent with table, white linen, wine pairing for the uber wealthy there.
So
cool. They just sit there sipping their cognac, and then I'll come in. I'll be fishing just right off in the corner, and I'll come in with the rod. Here you go, and he's sitting there right at the table with his wife. Go. Now he's fighting right at the table. Yeah, I'm serious.
Your sleeves are cut off, and you're wearing gumboots, and here you go.
Yeah, that's right. Here you go. Yeah,
this bushman comes out.
Yeah. What is that wine? Here, take a beer. Come on, let's do this right.
You shotgun him? Yes, see, senor. Shotgun,
that's right.
Yes.
Yes, that's shotgun.
The fishing is a totally different, experience. But what would you prefer if you had to do a 1 year-round sport? Like if you lived in, Central America and you didn't get the snow, would you be able to do the fishing year-round, you think? Or would you, in the interim, would you be able to do the sledding or snowbiking year-round? Or is it just such a good mix?
Yeah. Are you talking about because for like just a lifestyle or for like
it's
an
just
income?
like I think a lifestyle. Like I think sometimes it's like that nice mix, Sometimes you kind of get burnt out of one and you're like, I'm ready for the next. Or
that's what that's exactly right. That's what I do like about of course, the 6 months and 6 months of sledding, 6 months of fishing. It's kind of at the end of 6 months of sledding or snowbiking, I'm just like, okay, fishing, let's do this.
Isn't that the beautiful thing of living where we do, though, is you have the ability to do that. I can say that living in Alberta, our winters are harsh, as you know. At least the West Coast, you're a little bit more isolated from that. But yeah, I don't know. It seems like you're
West
kind
Coast,
of living
we're lucky because we have. Well, I mean, there's a lot of cool things that happen here, like the mountain biking, the dirt biking, the fishing. Like world-class kayaking. There's just snow biking, of course, sledding, all skiing, all the winter sports are just located. All the 4 seasons of sports are located right here. So it's pretty unique spot. So if I was to go somewhere else, like maybe North America, and that would be fishing. And then of course some dirt biking would be in there too. That's good. That's good enduro back there too.
Yep.
I guess I'd have to give up on the sledding, snowbiking thing for the most part, but
you could still survive.
I'm a cold environment kind of person though, so I think I choose cold over heat.
Yeah, so you'd be down in Chile or something like that.
So, now you're talking. Now you want to go camping?
You're speaking my language.
You and I, bud.
I did a trip.
Stay tuned.
We'll bring the cameras. I did a trip in 2018, I believe it was, with Brant and Ryan McConnell. A bunch of us were down there, and we did a pretty cool 509 segment around it. The whole time I was sledding there, it reminded me of the coastals a bit, when you get up in these big glaciated, but we're through volcanoes and stuff, and the whole time I was thinking was just like the backcountry moto around here during the summer months would be next to nothing. It would just be like unreal, mind blowing. And talking with our guide down there and stuff, Sled Chili was just like, he's like, you wouldn't believe it. Like to actually be ripping up these volcanoes in this black lava stone type stuff would be just such an experience. So that's what I'm saying
You're
we need to do.
You're talking my language right there. And P.S. Chile has some really good fishing, fly fishing.
Oh, absolutely. Have you been down there at all? Where was the farthest sledding and snow biking and stuff has taken you?
Alaska, I guess. I mean, I don't travel too much as far as like the sledding it's mostly through BC and AK. Fishing has been, down through Guatemala, Belize, Honduras, and
And that was guiding, or that was just fun?
No, I wish I was being guided, but that was on a month trip that the girlfriend and I took. I didn't even want to go to Mexico because I personally don't really like traveling. I'm happy right here. But she's like, all right. I was like, if we're going, we're going to base this around fishing. So we brought the fly rods, and then we just basically, when we got off the plane, we're just like, okay, now what? And we're like, oh, let's go to the water.
No way.
And then we just traveled all down the coast. Yeah. From Mexico into Belize, into Guatemala, into Honduras. And it was supposed to be like a 2-week one. And I think we ended up staying for 5 weeks just because I was like, this is sick. Why don't I like traveling? This is amazing.
I can do this more often.
Yeah.
What was the gnarliest like fish you caught, or the highlight of the trip to be like, man, I can't believe we even hooked one of those?
That would be a permit. There's permit down there. They're really, really tough to catch, and it's all on fly. And down there, it's called stalking the flats. So you've got about 2 feet of water for as far as the eye can see. It's all sand underneath. And when these fish come in off of the ocean, up the shoals and into these flats to feed, they tip down. And when they tip down, their tails come out. And you can see them. You're like, whoa, there, I can see him over there. So you need to try to figure out the trajectory of where he's going to feed. You got to cut him off, throw your line out there. Do not spook him. And then he'll come on it. And then that's when you throw a little tweak in there. And when they take it, they try to get off the flats. And the flats could be like a kilometer long. So they're just peeling line. Of course, you don't have a kilometer worth of line, but they'll go until they get tired, and then they start coming back in. You reel them in, and then they'll go again just because they want to get the hell out. And they'll do that several times. And so the permit, bonefish, and tarpon are probably my. That's called the Grand Slam.
Ah, nice. And were you able to get the Grand Slam? Yeah,
I got the Grand Slam. Nice. Oh, I did Cuba too, by the way. Yeah, Cuba. I got a Grand Slam in Cuba.
Nice. And that style of fishing is different than your typical river fly fishing or lake fly fishing in BC.
It is, because I mean, it's very hot weather. It's stocky. It's very just, you got to know how to fly cast out there too. Like, you got to be proficient caster because it's windy too, and there's all kinds of different elements out there, and it's pretty wild. It's you're not sitting in a you're not sitting in waders. It's very free because you're just in shorts, and it's just,
that's a cool
it feels like, cool. You're just very free and open, and it's very, very cool out there.
So
I should say.
Geoff Kyle coming out from Halifax, Nova Scotia at the tender age of 18, heading out west. What would you say to yourself if you could turn around and be like, man, you don't know what your next decade or 2 decades is in store for you?
That is a darn good question. I would have said buy real estate more. Because
you could have bought up all of Creekside.
Oh man, you could have. It would have been amazing. But other than that, I don't know. That's a good question, Mike. It's kind of live and learn out here is what it is. Is just live it up until you learn something, and then keep on living and learning. It's just. When you first come out here, there's no real goals. You're not really like, I'm going to save some money and I'm going to get a real good career path. You come out here going like, I'm going to blow a shitload of money. I'm going to have a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I'm going to party. I'm going to, make bad decisions, couple right ones. And, it seems to work out for a lot of people because everyone that comes out here seems to stay. And everyone seems to be doing okay.
Well, I think it's like we mentioned, it's just like the best place in the planet, really. The West Coast of Canada is just like, You got Canada, you got the coastals, you got this amazing topography, you got this great weather system coming through. For most part, you get great winters. We can't even talk about this winter because that's all of North America.
Exactly.
But then you get awesome summers too, and it's just like the summers in Pemberton and Whistler are just like, man, you got crankworks going on and you got, like music festivals and it's just so cool.
Yeah, it used to not be like that so much back a little while back before mountain biking when they put the mountain biking whole infrastructure on Whistler Mountain and just made it such a world-class downhill mountain biking scene there. This place in the summertime, it wasn't super pumping. It wasn't like, there's fishing, there's dirt biking, there was, mountain biking on trails and stuff like that. But as soon as they put in that, the downhill, the whole crazy scene that they got there now, crankworks and all that, it blew Whistler up in the summertime. And now it's almost busier sometimes in Whistler in the summertime than it is in the wintertime, which is unbelievable.
Did you ever get big into downhilling? You being so close to Whistler?
No, not really. Yeah, I didn't really. I stuck with the dirt. I stuck with the dirt bike.
Yeah.
And motor oriented. I'm a motor guy. So bicycle. I've got a Upco electric bike.
Sweet. Yeah.
Which is twist throttle.
Nice.
So
makes you feel
I do have a bike that doesn't run on
petroleum. We came out one summer for Crankworks, friends and I, and we rented bikes. Never been on Whistler before. Met up with Brad Gilmore, who at that time was like huge into mountain biking.
Yeah,
he took us down A-line or whatever it was, and we were just training. And it was during Crankworks, so it was packed, and you were just like committed into all these jumps and drops and everything. Like you just couldn't left because there was like 20 people behind you. And then,
you went down there too?
Yeah. And it wasn't a matter of like if you were gonna wad yourself, but when. Like me and all my buddies just wadded at some point or another throughout the day because downhill mountain biking is like that. You just keep pushing and pushing, and it's moto. I guess is kind of the same way. When you get on a track, it's like you want to be like a second faster, a 10th faster, or whatever. And you would keep pushing, but like downhill mountain biking just seems to be like that. Freaking man, you're just gonna wad yourself.
There's a reason why there's 2 ambulances at the bottom of the mountain at all times, and they just rotate. Sometimes they're both gone, but not for very long because the hospital's only literally 30 seconds away. But wow, like that ambulance drivers they're dedicated.
Non-stop,
they're there
busy.
all the time, nonstop. Yeah, really. If there's anybody that I want someone to take care of me, it would be the mountain biking ambulance guys because they've seen it. They know. They're like they know how to get stuff done in a hurry.
So this winter aside, everyone in North America is feeling the pain. It's just we all want snow, and I think Alpine, Wyoming, and that Star Valley area is getting it a little bit recently, which I'm stoked to hear and see. It looks like things are coming.
Yeah.
Outside of that, what is Geoff Kyle working on for the rest of this winter into next year? What's your plans coming up?
That's a good question, my friend. That's a good question. So the snow bikes, I'm getting deeper and deeper into my sponsorships with Honda, Yeti. Yeti's been really good to me and stuff like that. So that's helping me through all these seasons to just progress and to get better prepared, to get more clients, to get everything. So having that infrastructure from the factory support, it's huge. Sweet. It's huge, Yeah. And then I have the shop here. So building that shop into even bigger and better, having more bike builds and more just kind of really cool stuff that people can count on when they call me up that they can get good info or good products from Mountain Moto.
Nice.
The lodge, I love the lodge and I love having people here. It's nice that I don't have them here in the summertime because I fish guide. Yeah. But, it's nice. It's nice spending time with the people that you ride with all through the day. And then it's camaraderie. You come back at nighttime, you're having good food, hot tubs around the fire, and you get to relive the day. And that's when a lot of the experiences sink in is in the evening time when you get to relive it, because when it's happening, people's minds are just kind of, they're just like, okay, what is this? I don't get it.
And then it finally sinks in. Yeah.
It does. It finally sinks in. So that's kind of cool, having the lodge and having the shop, and then having the whole guiding outfit for the wintertime. It's fun. I enjoy it.
Nice, Geoff. Well,
Yeah.
I'm stoked for you. I know that 18-year-old kid coming out from Halifax would look at what you got today and just be mind blown at what you're doing with,
Thanks, brother.
working with Honda like that, and what you've done sledding. And I think like had a huge influence in where the sport went. It
Very
doesn't
cool.
matter who you were talking about throughout the podcast in this first season, but your name came up like almost, religiously. It just kept coming up about guys who
Cool.
really influenced them on how they ride or what they're doing today. Is just like, well, because of the big drops and big jumps guys like Geoff Kyle were doing. So pat on the back, man. You definitely earned where you're at today. And I think so many people are stoked for you for sure.
You're too kind, brother. I'm going to give you 5 more minutes to talk about me.
That's it. And then I'm going to cut you off. We definitely
You're awesome.
need to cross paths again in the winter. It's been way too long. I got to come out and check out your pad. I got to check out your bike scene. So at some point here before the end of the season, I will be out there.
There you go. You're back. Well, thanks a lot, brother. I miss that smile of yours, and I miss you behind the camera. I miss hanging out. I miss our Crown Royals. I miss all these stuff.
We got to do it. Okay, this winter, before the end of winter, I will be out your way. I'll crash in one of your beds, and we're gonna ride on the motos.
Love you long time. All right. Ciao for now.